Rain lashed against the city streets like a furious symphony, each droplet hammering against windows and rooftops. In the dim light of an apartment overlooking the river, Emma Collins sat on the edge of her bed, staring at her phone. Her hands trembled, not from the chill of December, but from the fear gnawing at her chest. Another text, another plea. She couldn't respond, not yet, not until she knew he was safe. Alex Turner had been her secret for 6 months. They met at a corporate gala where the city's elite mingled under crystal chandeliers, oblivious to the lives they disrupted below. Emma, a rising attorney with a reputation for composure and cold logic, had never intended to meet someone like Alex. He was charming, reckless, and dangerous in ways she couldn't articulate. A freelance photographer with a talent for getting into places no one should, he was her world, her forbidden thrill. Their relationship was a tightly wound secret. Neither of them could afford exposure. Emma's law firm had strict policies about fraternization, and Alex, well, he had reasons he couldn't fully share. He spoke in half truths and elusive smiles, and Emma, despite every rational instinct, followed. Tonight, however, something was wrong. The text read, "I made a mistake. Meet me at the pier. Don't tell anyone." Emma's stomach sank. The pier was abandoned, a place the city used to forget its shadows. The memory of Alex's mischievous grin was replaced with a cold unease. Against her better judgment, she grabbed her coat and keys, her heels clicking against wet pavement as she raced through the storm. By the time she arrived, the pier was deserted, save for a lone figure leaning against the rail. The fog clung to the water like a ghostly veil. Alex looked up as she approached, his eyes wide and dark, reflecting the faint glow of the distant streetlights. "Emma," he said, voice barely audible over the rain, "I need to tell you something I should have told you months ago." Her heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" He swallowed hard, glancing around nervously. "It's about my past. There are people I shouldn't have crossed, and now they're here. They know about us." Emma's mind raced. "Who, Alex? Who is after you?" Before he could answer, the sudden screech of tires against wet asphalt shattered the night. 2 black SUVs rolled onto the pier, headlights cutting through the fog like knives. Men in dark suits jumped out, moving with precision and lethal intent. "Run!" Alex shouted, but it was too late. One of the men grabbed him from behind, a gloved hand pressing against his mouth. Emma froze, horror paralyzing her. She tried to fight, but another man pushed her to the ground, knocking the wind from her lungs. "Stay down," a voice hissed, and then, just as suddenly as it began, they were gone. Alex, her secret lover, vanished. The next morning, the city was indifferent to her panic. Emma reported Alex missing, but the police seemed skeptical. A freelance photographer wasn't exactly someone high on their priority list, and without evidence, there was little they could do. Days turned into weeks. Emma's obsession grew. She scoured Alex's apartment, his email, his social media, trying to trace any hint of his whereabouts, and then she found it, a photograph hidden in a folder labeled Memories. It was Alex, smiling at the camera, but the background was unfamiliar. A mansion surrounded by dense forest, and in the corner, a symbol she didn't recognize. A black serpent coiled around a dagger. Her stomach churned. That symbol had appeared before, in the news, associated with a string of unsolved kidnappings and disappearances. Emma realized with a cold dread that Alex hadn't just been reckless. He had been hiding in plain sight, and now his past had caught up to him. Determined to find him, Emma began her own investigation. She followed leads that Alex had left behind, often cryptic, always urgent. Each clue drew her deeper into a world she didn't belong to. Underground networks, secret dealings, and a criminal syndicate that seemed untouchable. One night, she received an anonymous tip, "Meet me at the old train station, midnight, come alone." She knew better than to trust it, yet her desperation overrode caution. She arrived, the station abandoned and echoing with the sound of dripping water. A shadow emerged from the darkness. "Emma," the voice whispered. It was Alex, or at least it looked like him, but his eyes were hollow, his face pale. "You shouldn't have come," he said. "Where have you been? Who took you?" she demanded. "They know I tried to leave. They won't let me go," he said. "And now, you're in danger too." Before she could respond, headlights flooded the station. The same men, the syndicated, tracked her. This time there was no escape. Emma awoke in a dimly lit room, bound to a chair. Her head throbbed, and the acrid smell of damp concrete filled her nostrils. Across from her, Alex sat, bruised and bloodied. "They're not just criminals," he said, voice cracking. "They're hunters. They track people who know too much, and now they want both of us." A man entered the room, tall and imposing, with a serpent and dagger tattoo snaking up his arm. "So, the lawyer finally shows herself," he sneered. "You've been very curious, Ms. Collins. Curiosity is punishable." Emma's mind raced. She had to think. There had to be a way out. Hours passed. Threats were made, and the tension in the room grew unbearable. But Emma noticed something. A small ventilation shaft in the corner, barely wide enough for a person to crawl through. Whispering to Alex, she formulated a plan. They waited until the guards' attention drifted. Then Emma made her move. With Alex's help, she wriggled through the shaft, scraping her hands and arms against the metal, but determined. The sound of footsteps echoed behind them, growing louder, but somehow they managed to slip into the shadows outside. Freedom, however, came at a cost. As they reached the street, the first snowfall of the season began, covering their tracks. But just as Emma thought they were safe, a bullet pierced the night air. Alex fell, clutching his chest, his eyes meeting hers one last time. "Run, Emma," he whispered, tears streaming. Emma ran, the sound of sirens mingling with her sobs. She didn't stop until she reached her apartment, collapsing on the floor, the reality of his death settling like a stone in her chest. Weeks later, Emma sat in the same apartment, staring at the photograph of the mansion and the serpent symbol. The authorities had made little progress. The syndicate was too powerful, too elusive. Alex's disappearance had turned into a murder case, unsolved, his life a shadow in the police files. But Emma was changed. No longer the careful, composed lawyer she had been. She had become someone who understood the dark currents running beneath the city's polished surface. She kept Alex's memory alive, vowing to uncover the truth, to expose the syndicate that had taken him from her. And every night, when the rain lashed against her window, she swore she could hear his voice. "Run, Emma, run." A secret relationship that began with passion ended in tragedy, leaving behind a void that could never be filled, but also a fire that could never be extinguished.